guys, welcome back to another video on my channel where we talk about all things Marvel and DC. Now, if you already haven't done so yet, you hit that like button, that subscribe button, that bell notification, get notified when videos like this drop. Now, let's start this review on the Falcon and the Winter Soldier episode 5. Now, this wasn't really a episode where I can really break down like all the characters. It was really him and Bucky's. Well, it was really Sam episode, but with sprinkles of Bucky and John. But but what I'm basically trying to say is, it's not a whole lot of characters that I'm going to be talking about. Here now I'm going to be talking about, little characters, but let's start this review. Now, I'm going to be talking about the cons of this episode, and I'm going to be talking about the good stuff. Now, to start off with the kind of weak stuff in this episode was fantastic. It was great. I wouldn't say it is my favorite episode, but it's definitely up there, one of my favorite episodes. But yeah, to start off with the bad, the Flag Smashers, Carly, and that whole thing is just that I don't give a flying, fleep about Carly and the Flag Smashers. I know, I'm sorry. It's just that I just don't care. Carly or the Flag Smashers, I just don't care. They're just not just that relate to me, or no, I don't know. It's just the Flag Smashers is just not. I just don't care about them. Now, let's talk about Isaiah Bradley. Now, actors are fantastic. The scenes with him are fantastic. I think that I have is just that when he first popped up, it was good in his backstory and what happened to him in prison, and he can get locked up, and people experimenting on him. That stuff was great, but I didn't really care so much about him in this episode. It wasn't that he was bad or the actor was terrible or the scene was terrible. No, he was just basically talking to Sam about, still talking about how his life was, when he was Captain America and his time was like in prison. His wife wrote him letters, and basically, the people who was experimenting on him, which basically was telling his wife that he was dead while his wife was sending him letters. Basically, he was having a whole conversation with Sam, Not that that scene was terrible or bad. It just wasn't emotional, impactful to me. It's just that I just didn't care about the whole Isaiah Bradley stuff the second time around. That's all. But, I still like the character of Isaiah Bradley. Now, going forward, would I like to see him? I guess. I mean, I think as long as they do it right, then I wouldn't have a problem seeing him again in the MCU. But yeah, that's my thoughts on Isaiah Bradley. I don't know if you're gonna get more of him in the final episode, but yeah, that's my thoughts on him. Away from the cons, let's talk about the great stuff in this episode. Now, the opening of this episode, we get a fantastic fight, John Walker versus Bucky and Sam. Now, that fight was not incredible, but it was great. Winter Soldier vibes mixed with something else within the MCU. I just can't put my finger on it. But yeah, that opening scene was great. The fight choreography was great. The acting in this episode was amazing. Probably the best acted. He probably did his best acting in this episode than he probably did throughout the whole season of Falcon and Winter Soldier. Now, his scenes was great also. Fighting Sam and Bucky, him talking to Lamar Hoskins' family about his death, and him basically lying that, he caught the person that did it. And, that stuff with Lamar Hoskins' family was great. You could see guilt, the sadness that was on his eyes that his friend died, was great. So get a scene with him, after the whole thing with him killing that man, he's at kind of, he's in front of the kind of U.S. senators and governments of the world. And he's basically, now this acting scene was incredible when he was like, I am Captain America. He was basically, his point was breaking. Well, he was at his breaking point already, but this kind of amped it up a lot. And yeah, this whole scene with him standing in front of the U.S. government, and him kind of taking this punishment, more or less, and him saying, I am Captain America, and him saying, screw the government, screw the U.S. senators, screw Bucky and Sam, I'm just going to go after the Flag Smashers and do whatever it takes, for me to become my own version of Captain America, which is great. And we also have a scene sought after when he, kind of storms out the kind of Senate office or government official office. I don't know what that was, but I don't know what that place was. But anyways, we get the scene of John Walker talking to his wife when we actually see a lady. I forgot the lady's name, but I know she is Madam Hydra. Now, I don't know a lot about Madam Hydra. I know that obviously she's involved with Hydra. I just don't know in what capacity. I have to look more up about that character. But, I think the cameo was fine. I was kind of expecting a, Thunderbolt Ross cameo or something else. I don't know if it was the actors or the producers or the writers. They had said that, they would love to see this character with Thor. And after that whole cameo scene, I was kind of scratching my head because I was kind of okay, how would this character work with Thor? But anyways, I think the character cameo was fine. It was just that I was just expecting, Thunderbolt Ross or more. I was expecting Thunderbolt Ross or some other, a little bit of a bigger cameo. That's all. But the cameo was great. I'm interested to see, what project she's involved in next. I know that she was supposed to be in the Black Widow movie, but I think they kind of scrapped that because, the Black Widow movie got delayed and they decided to put her in this episode of The Falcon and Winter Soldier. But, the cameo scene was fine. But, now, let's talk about Sam and Bucky. Now, at first, I think he was really getting me, not annoyed, but kind of irritated a little bit that he didn't pick up the responsibility of Captain America. Now, I get it with the whole Isaiah Bradley stuff and him not wanting to take on the responsibility and the legacy of Captain America. But after seeing this episode, it really kind of changed my mind. I really felt that he really deserved to be Captain America. He wasn't kind of saying, oh, what are people thinking about me, about being Captain America, me being Captain America, me picking up his legacy. But in this episode, I kind of felt him a little bit. Not in the way of, him complaining and all that stuff, but it was more him deserving the shield of Captain America than him kind of going around and saying, oh, I'm not worthy. In this episode, definitely I felt that he really deserved it. And he really put his foot forward to become Captain America, and that's what I loved about him. Sam going forward as being a new Captain America, perfect, But yeah, I think that Sam is going to be a great Captain America. It shows diversity. It shows, he really wants to become Captain America. He's accepting to take on that responsibility and the role of Captain America. His scenes was great too. Rather you talking about his scenes with Isaiah Bradley, or with his sister, or with his nephews, or with Bucky. That scene between Bucky and Sam, that whole montage of them fixing the boat. And them, this chilling, this them chilling out, as bros, as co-workers, as they said in the episode. But yeah, it was really great to see them bonding more because we didn't really get a lot of that throughout the series, throughout the show, or throughout the season. We didn't really get the downtime with them just chilling out as bros, as friends. It was action scene after action scene after action scene, and it was more of them dealing with their own personal stuff, with them dealing with their issues kind of together. Because they both have different issues, but the issues kind of intertwined because they both are dealing with, the death of Steve Rogers and how they have to deal with that together. So, their scenes was really great. Them fixing the boat and them, chilling, drinking, drinking beers. That stuff was great. The interactions in the show in general was fantastic, especially in this episode. You know, I would love to see. I would watch a whole season of them just talking and just chilling in the bar, drinking beers all day. Like that would be a perfect season 2 for me. But anyways, now let's talk about Bucky in this episode. Now was the whole. Now his scenes was really intertwined with the Sam scenes in this episode, but he had this one great scene with Baron Zemo. You know, when Zemo where he was at, I guess I think it was a monument of his family in Sokovia, and this great scene of Bucky kind of Zemo antagonizing, Bucky, and Bucky kind of pulling out a gun and pretending to shoot him, but he didn't. Which I think that scene was really powerful too, because it also showed that Zemo, nobody can't control him anymore. He had this one great line that I forgot, but I think it was something like something about you can't. I'm not going to allow you to do something. Now I'm free or something. Whatever he said, which was a great line. But anyways, his scenes was great. Bucky's scenes was great in this episode. Now, towards the end of this episode now, we get a training montage between Sam. He finally gets the shield, which he deserves. I think Sam really deserved the shield, He's been by Captain America's side through all of it, through everything, honestly. And I always go back to this one line that Sam had in Captain America Civil War, where he said, the people who shoot at you wind up shooting at me, which was a fantastic line, which showed that he had his back throughout everything, which is great. So Sam definitely deserved the shield, more than Bucky, I think. But yeah, so we get towards the end of this episode, where we see, Sam training with the shield and all that stuff, playing with his nephews. That stuff is great. We also get the scene of Bucky and Sam kind of talking about, the legacy of that shield, and Sam kind of, bringing this tough love, speaking to Bucky, tough love, because that's what Bucky needs, tough love. There's one thing about Bucky I don't really like, is that people kind of not pander to him, but kind of baby him, kind of like, oh, Bucky, it's gonna be okay. I'm gonna be there for you, whether it's Steve or whether it's anybody else. Well, Steve mostly. Well, Steve, frankly, out of throughout the whole, saga of the MCU, Steve kind of babied him, which Bucky really needed. He really needed this tough love and his push for Sam to him being like, man, listen, you got to put in the work. If you want people to accept for who you are and make amends, you can't feel like you're making amends for yourself. People got to feel, you got to make the amends for people to feel within themselves, or something that Sam said to Bucky, which was great. But anyways, we get a scene with, I guess, back at the place where the U.S. government and I guess the U.S. senators was at, and we basically the Flag Smashers basically hijacked, the U.S. government, and I guess hacked them or whatever. We also get a scene with Sharon Carter. She's definitely the power broker. I would be interested to see where Sharon Carter goes forward in the MCU. We don't really know if she is the power broker. I'm thinking that she is. But yeah, I'm really interested to see where Sharon Carter goes in this episode, in the next episode, and, future MCU installments. Yeah, I guess that's all I have to talk about in this episode. This episode was fantastic. Not my best episode, but one of my favorites. Yeah. Comment down below, guys. Did you like this episode? Didn't like it? What was your favorite scenes? Do you think that Sam deserves to be Captain America? I want to hear your guys' comments down below in the comment section below. But yeah, that's enough being said. Make sure you give a like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.